now have a special treat. Quick little comments here, and by a husband and wife who go, they're kind of like Prince. You can just say their first name. You don't have to pronounce their last name. Divya, who is the co-founder of Baiju with her husband, Baiju. She is just extraordinary. Baiju, if you all don't know, is the most highly valued edtech company in the entire world. It was valued at $22 billion in their last financing round most recently. I could also do a little shameless self-promotion. A special treat, Divya did a standing room only fireside chat this morning with pour over rooms everywhere with Jenny Anderson. And on Wednesday, Baiju has surprised us. And for the first time, straight from Qatar, I think, right? Did you both come from Qatar? We are, for the first time ever, they are going to do a fireside chat actually with me on StageX Wednesday at 2:15, I think, or something like that. But anyway, so we're very excited about that. But Div, you wanted to make a few quick comments.
Thanks a lot. Dr. Sien, I want to say that my Jedi calling was in teaching. At 21, where I wore a sari like this, this is a sari for those who don't know, and in India, we wear it to look more mature, to look older, and I had to wear it because my students were 3 years younger than me, and I had to look older than them. And in my first class of 100 students, I was going in for the first time. I felt so much impact that I stayed on to teach. So I'm a teacher first, an entrepreneur next, and I think that's what has worked for us. And for us, it's not about valuation, it's about value creation. And each and every day, like it is for all of us here today in the room. So this event is about all of us. It's not about one person. I think it's a victory for everybody. And when I wore this morning, I asked myself, I'm like, you have a keynote at 9:30, are you sure you can do it? It's 6 yards of cloth that you have to drape in a particular manner only. And if you don't, and you falter at one turn, it can be devastating. And then I said, yes, of course I can do it, because 200 years ago, a woman wearing a sari could never be on a stage like this. So it is representative of the fact that we have broken a lot of stigma. We have shown the world that we can also take care and take charge, like all of us who are in this room today. So I want to give back 2 minutes. And so I'm going to do that by, a lot of people say, what is your message to women leaders? What is your message to women entrepreneurs? And I say, we all come together, and then we're going to knock that word woman out before leaders and entrepreneurs, so that it not does it become an exception, it becomes a norm, right? So thanks a lot, everybody. I don't want to take more time, but thank you so much for being fabulous, each and every one of you. Thanks a lot. And thank you. Thank you for being an example for all of us who are here today. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So sweet. I know, you can't imagine the trouble. And I think you guys have she has her baby here, and her family here, and it's crazy. Jane, where are you? Jane, ladies on the panel, come on up. We now have the very funny Jane Swift. Oh, no. Oh, come on. Sorry. Oh, you got it. Right, sorry. You need one? Go.
All right. Well,
do you
mean? Where'd? I think we might have lost one person to the ladies' room, but we'll sit. All right, sit. If this is a women's event, I think we need better chairs in case we wear dresses. So if I'm flashing you, it's okay. Yeah. Look, I can see right up. Okay, this is better. All right. So just jump right in. Jamie already said we can all do bathroom breaks. So our panel today is going to explore, and I'm Jane Swift, for those of you who didn't recognize me when I got my award. I look different with glasses on. How successful women leaders embrace their passions and insights. And I was just so impressed when luckily, if you were here last year, I have the same intern. She came back to prepare me for this panel. But what I was struck by is that each of these women have created enormous success by embracing their passions that are often seen as female. And as we have heard earlier, for many of us, when we were achieving success, we had to actually, in many cases, not act female. And it is so reassuring and refreshing. I didn't have to wear the big suits with the big like shoulder pads and the faux tie as part of the perennials, as Deb calls us. But I'm even more excited to introduce our panelists who are pursuing their passions and finding success. So I hate panels where you do the long bios you all can read, I hope. So as I introduce each of these amazing young women who are old enough to be my daughters, I will, although you probably make your beds, clean your rooms, and do all those good things, so you're not my daughters, I will ask you to also maybe say a few words about your work. So Taylor, Toucan, did I say that right? Toucan, like the parrot. Your company's web extension browser has received a lot of praise recently for its ability to teach new languages, also while browsing the web. So what kind of need was it that you were working to fill when you helped to found this product?
Yeah, so anyone here try to create a new habit before? Going to the gym, meditating.
Making your bed.
Yes, exactly. It is really hard, right? Like, we are all so insanely busy. And if you look at a lot of products out there, I was one of the first employees at Headspace where we were asking people for just 10 minutes to sit there, basically do nothing. And we had all this science and research to show people why this was so good for them, that when we started looking at the education space and specifically language learning, we decided, like, why would we try to compete for time? Because if we do that, we're not just going against friends, family, work, and school, but also Netflix, Spotify, TikTok, Clubhouse, everything and anything. So our whole thesis is, let's layer on top of existing behaviors, meet people where they already are throughout the flow of their day. So we're going with everything versus against it. And it's really been amazing. We've solved the consumer behavior side. Our users are browsing with Toucan over 4 hours every single day, and we don't lose 87% of our users. And so when you think of the potential ripple effects of an ed tech product like that, like, those numbers are mind-blowing, and like, we have this massive vision of making the world multilingual, and I think we have a good shot at that because of it.
That is awesome. Think about if you want your first or second question, because I'm giving these guys choice, but I didn't want to talk across you, and I didn't give you a choice, I'm sorry, but my kids hate me sometimes too. So we're gonna try to slim this down. So Jordan, I love this. How many of you have daughters? So I have 3 daughters. Jordan works with her mom and chose that she wanted to answer this question, which is even more amazing. I want to know what your experience has been like working with your mother at Medley, and what lessons you've learned both from your own experience, but also in the way that you've seen your mom navigate her career. And hopefully somebody is recording this so that we can send it to your mom, because I am telling you, there's nothing better than we get to that point and we realize our kids actually did listen to some of the things we've said, and it made an impact. So.
Well, thank you so much, Jane, and I can assure you there are still plenty of moments when I am not listening to her, and it is probably just as, if not more, frustrating. So just for a little context, I co-founded Medley with my mother. Medley is a company that supports people's personal and professional growth throughout their lives. It's a group coaching membership. We are building the business from very different vantage points. So I was a business school grad, had the experience of trying to figure out my life. My mother had a 30-year career in finance, including 10 years running human capital management at Goldman Sachs. She sits on corporate boards. So one of the big things I've learned from working with her is actually this zest for continuing to learn throughout your life and how important that is. So she is constantly putting herself in uncomfortable situations, every other day she's like, so are you sure? Like just juggling and navigating the challenges of building a new business. But I hope that I can only aspire to continue to learn the way she does. The other thing I just wanted to share with this audience, given that so many of us have daughters in the room, and some of my peers and some other role models of mine start to think through the trade-off of the amount of time it does take to work and build a business and have such a significant career. I wouldn't trade the role model that she has created for me for anything. There were certainly moments where she wasn't around as much when I was younger, but I feel so privileged to get to spend so much time with her now and work with her now. And what you described, Dr. Proctor, with your dad just saying you can do anything, I had that and still have that with my mom. And so, I feel, there's ups and downs, certainly, and I can share war stories if you want to find me later on or throughout the conference. But overall, it's been an incredible experience. She's an amazing role model, and we certainly still get to go at it every once in a while.
That is awesome. For those of you who were here last year, we had Shadia, rhymes with Nadia, who's going to be the next governor of California, and I continue to egg her on LinkedIn because I'm determined to make that happen. This year, we have her co-founder, Brittney, who is going to talk to us about their company, which lets employers offer pre-negotiated spots in daycares and preschools as part of their employees' benefits packages. Brittney is a co-founder and CMO, soon to have to run the company on your own when Shadia is the governor of California. What kind of a difference do you see? Did you know all of this? Did she tell you?
Yeah.
Okay,
no, I've been
good.
prepared. That's where she is now. She's working on her campaign.
Okay, good. Raising money. I hope you have to raise money.
Yeah.
What kind of a difference do you see Kinside as having made for its users? And on a serious note, the devastation of young families who have had to cope with childcare issues during the COVID shutdowns is something that I think weighs heavily on all of us.
Absolutely. So for some context, Kinside is a childcare marketplace. So we connect working parents, as Jane said, to open spots and savings at daycares, preschools, camps, after-school programs. But one of the things that we're really trying to do is understand where the inventory is within childcare. So seeing how much inventory there is it affordable for working parents? And I think for a long time, this was just considered to be a family issue. So it's are you paying $25,000 per year for your childcare? And people were just well, that was your decision. You had kids. And I think what happened during the pandemic is suddenly the inextricable link between childcare and workplace participation was really exposed in an insanely new way, where you couldn't blame some secondary variable on people dropping out of the workforce. So during that time, devastation is the right word. There's currently as many women in the workforce as there were in 1988. So employers are seeing and feeling the devastation from a recruitment, from a retention standpoint. So instead of wanting to, pass the buck and say this is somebody else's problem, they're finally kind of picking up some of the slack and saying we actually have to support working parents financially and to find childcare. Otherwise, we don't have women that are working here. Our workforces are smaller, they're less effective, and we're losing money. So I think for the first time, we're seeing this as being a true business issue instead of just a personal issue. And I can tell you that the attitude on sales calls from before the pandemic to after, it used to be childcare's on our list. It was always on the list, as it is on a lot of lists, including in government. That's why we need Shadia in there. But yeah, it's always on the list. And now I think it's clear that if it's not a major priority, there's a cost to doing nothing. So I think that's the biggest difference. And we were able to help so many working parents re-enter the workforce as they rejoined and find care, especially emergency workers. But there are so many women, whose childcare were closed and they couldn't necessarily be a part of it. So the thing that we've been able to do is be there to kind of pick up some of the pieces and get people going again.
That's awesome. You are just as awesome as Shadia. You could run as a ticket.
Oh,
just
thank
like
you.
you have now.
Yeah, love
that.
that.
I may start prepping that.
Yeah. We'll
all
chat
right.
after.
So, yes. Tess, who got to sit at my power table in the back. So as a CEO of Stride Funding, where I found out most of her employees are in the best state in the country, you can all guess where that might be. You were named to the Forbes 30 under 30 for education. I assume you have a few more years to make that list. How do you think that personal achievement, and this is something I've often struggled with myself, so personal achievements are awesome, but how do those personal achievements also reflect the success of the company, of Stride Funding in the past few years? And how do you try to take those personal successes to power the success of your company?
Yeah, I think overall how Stride has really become a way to fuse a lot of my personal interests around really just creating access. And in a lot of ways, when you think about building a business, it's, initially, how do you think about profit versus purpose, or profit versus passion? And Stride in a lot of ways has just really beautifully blended the two for me, which has been really special building a business like that. It doesn't mean that there weren't a lot of hard decisions early on. I mean, first was, who do we target? And I think oftentimes, I was in investing before, and I think one of the issues you oftentimes see is investors think the target population is the seat they sit in themselves. And so initially, I was in business school, definitely thinking that was a great target market. And then I realized, wait a second, there are way larger markets that are, tied to the mission and actually make sense for the business, right? So we looked at healthcare and we said, it doesn't actually have to be the doctor, it could be the nurse. It's 4 times the market size, and they're really stable professions. And COVID, as you can imagine, accelerated the need to support creating access to amazing educations for nurses. So that's where we started and grew. And there were a lot of other tough decisions, which again, coming from a background where, I looked at investing initially, like our first term sheets were from large hedge funds. And they were, good terms for our business model and really expensive terms for our students. And for me as an individual, when you build a business, you are in a lot of ways what you stand for. And I think that was a really important lesson of saying we didn't have many options at the time, but it was our first hard no. And we ended up instead partnering with large impact investors like Strada Education and others. Then we proved out the model worked. We brought in big banks and credit funds and scalable capital. But in a lot of ways, it let me really feel like I built a business that also tied with my personal values, which I think is really critical. And then the last was, the people you surround yourself with. You're solving for humans that you want to spend a lot of time with. They become your closest friends. You spend more time with them than anyone else in your life. And I got, the luxury of finding people who just reinforce the mission and what we were building on a day-to-day basis, and that was also really special. And so, it allowed me to work in a place that I loved with people that supported what we're building and reinforced a lot of, my personal values and at the same time, making me an even better person along the way. And I think, that's a really special place to be in, and, I'm really grateful for that. And so, yeah.
So I'm going to go to our lightning round, but you guys are so good. We may actually get to the second question, but Tulane, who I saw back there, changed her whole wardrobe for today because of my answer that has to have a prop, although little did I know Jordan was going to help me out too. So I'm going to have mine last, but in the spirit, it sounds like totally like random, but it'll all make sense. So in the spirit of, those of us who are a teeny bit older, hopefully have paved the way for the success of these women who are having tremendous success now. My greatest hope is that each of you are changing things for the next generation of women leaders, my daughters, Ashley's daughters, the other young women who are out there dreaming big, like Professor Proctor's dad taught her to do. So if there's one thing that you hope you change and make better for the women who come after you, what would that be? And we'll just go straight down. Brittney?
I wish I could have more than one, because right now we don't even have paid leave for everybody. So I think like baseline, we need paid leave, but more than that, I think really supporting women in not having to make the choice between participating in the workforce and having childcare support. So things like on-site childcare, or even just, you know, initiatives to make childcare more affordable. So today, affordable childcare is considered 7% of a family's income. Today, people are paying 23% of their income. So kind of trying to close that gap between what's happening now and true affordability would open up a world of possibility for so many women who really need it.
So when I was governor, Ellen Goodman, who's a Pulitzer Prize winner, wrote that it seems like the lesson here is that choice for women is to either have a great career or to have children, and that's no choice at all. And I agree with you, like that has to end. And I think it is for a lot of women, but we still have to keep making it better.
Mine's, can we open at least one door for each other every single week? Like snackable, actionable, like that's my personal goal every week. And like all of you, feel free to raise your hand if you're female founders that are gonna fundraise or that have fundraised, and like look around at each other because you can all help. And feel free to email me, I'm happy to do that as well. Like let's leverage each other to open those doors that not a lot of us have had access to before.
That's great.
I hope that everyone can see an example of what they're striving towards in ways that reflect their own identity back at them. So right now there's, I think, far too few women of color in various roles, and I hope that that just is no longer an issue.
You know, early on in Stride, I was by far the youngest exec on our team and the only woman on our team for a while. And so because of that, definitely tried to separate personal and professional to a fault, where you just didn't want to be vulnerable in a workplace whatsoever, because I saw that as though it might be a sign of weakness. And I learned very quickly that it makes your, you know, bonds with your team that much stronger if you do bring that whole self to work. And I want to make sure that every single person on our team feels that. We do pulse checks regularly where it's, you know, how are you doing? Not just how are you doing right now on the job, but how are you doing overall? What am I missing? How can I help you? And I hope that just becomes naturally a part of, you know, every workplace.
So mine is, you know, one of the ways that we diminished women in their leadership back in the day, and I think still do too often, is by imposing all kinds of norms about what we wear and how we look. And I have had lots of advice, obvious, much of which I don't follow. But I am, it has, for me, come down at this point in my life in shoes. And I stressed and was actually Snapchatting my children about which shoes. These were approved, maybe a little on the edgy side, but the truth is they're not that freaking comfortable. And so then I was I've already got Band-Aids on, right? And so I was at dinner talking to Tulane and her friend who was with her, and I was like, I saw all these awesome sneakers. Why can't I wear the awesome sneakers? I want to normalize that. And then I show up. So Tulane changed her whole outfit so she'd be wearing her awesome sneakers that she told me I could wear. But Tulane, look at this. Dr. Proctor's got her sneakers on. And, I mean, your name's Jordan, so I suppose you can wear any sneakers you want if your name is Jordan, right? You all get that. You have to be basketball.
Yeah, no, we
fans,
got
right?
that.
You're not that young. Okay. So anyway, so that's for me. And if you don't think you can do it, I won't make you, but you can look at the like damage that's been done to my toes that I'm now dealing with because of the shoes those men made me wear, like walking around the state house on that marble for hours and hours. All right, I can do no. What do you want me to do? You want me to end? I could sing, tap dance. Yeah. Well, and Jamie was supposed to tell me, and you made her leave early if my slip showed. So if that's happening, it's not my fault. All right, we're gonna end it here. I'm trying so hard to never be invited back, but it doesn't seem to work for me. All right, thank you all. Thank you.